is the red considered to be in the fawn family?
Yeah.
Okay,
When I say red, I mean brown,
right.
fawn,
Oh,
anything
okay,
that's not
right,
brindle, brownish, reddish color.
right,
Even buckskin, all that's the same. It's just
right,
all that is different shades of sabling. You know,
right.
some dogs have a really rich, kind of orangey, red,
Orange red,
rusty.
yeah.
That
Uh-huh.
just means their hair has a little more black tip to it.
Okay.
And then if a dog doesn't have that, it doesn't have that black tip and it has a different little less pigment. So that's why you have variations in red.
So
But when I say red,
it would go
I
to
just
red all the way to Farmentino being the more recessive color, you think?
I don't know how that works in the shades, but
Mhm.
all non-brindle red, fawn, red, brown is recessive. And people get confused. They're like, oh, it's dominant because I bred a red dog to a red dog and I only get a red dog. Well, that means you got two recessives. Two two recessives means that they don't carry any other color, just that red, and that's why you get 100% red. Same goes with like a chocolate red nose. If you breed two red nose dogs together, that's two dilute recessives, and you're just going to get recessive. Now,
Right.
Brindle is dominant, which that means it can carry red, it can carry black, it can carry anything, and it
Yeah.
can throw brindle too.
Right.
So when it's bred, it can contribute brindle, or contribute if it carries that, it can contribute the red. So when you're doing black, it's uh, and you don't select for the black, you've lost it.
Hmm.
Unless you select for brindle, it'll carry. It can be carried through brindle. So Ellerby, he was in and out. He kept telling me, yeah, they keep going back to white, keep going back to white. So that he just kept getting more and more pied colored dogs. He sold the dog to a guy who's an old time breeder too, Doug Kennedy in Michigan. His first dog he ever bought was from James Ellerby. It was a black female called Black Mamba, and he used her to start. He got totally different Johnson blood after that and intermingled it, and so he produced it. But back in the day, uh, solid colored Johnson type dogs that weren't white with patches were people just automatically assume you're crossing a pit bull in there, you cross something in.
Hmm.
So whereas on the standard side, it wasn't like that. On the standard side, there was a lot of buckskin, solid brindle, reds, all kinds of reds. They didn't, it was a different mindset. The guys that were breeding the standard dogs early on, there was a group of them, they used to call themselves the standard performance American Bulldogs. They they didn't breed, they were kind of mirroring game bred pit bull breeders. And some of them would say they do a game test, a roll, or whatever.
Hmm.
There's rumors about that. I'm sure some of them did. Some of them it was probably bullshit. I don't know. But
Hmm.
the character of the dog, the gameness, that was the number one thing for
Hmm.
them. So they didn't care if it was red. They didn't care if it was purple. It all depended on the ability and the gameness of the dog or the grit.
Hmm.
So in performance lines, there's tons of solid colored dogs, and they either come out solid, heavy red, heavy brindle, or they come out heavy white. And their pieballs, I don't know, for some reason, weren't the big saddle back, big patches. They were mainly almost all white or
Hmm.
all heavy colored. So Doug Kennedy got those, and of course, he similar to when I got into the blacks. Uh, you get a solid heavy black colored dog or heavy red colored dog, you'd probably sell it as a pet with no papers, which is kind of what I did. But
Hmm.
it was carried in throughout Kennedy's line because he had brindle dogs, and brindle will carry the black. And his color kind of caught on later through somebody else that had a black dog, a black patch dog, and him and this other breeder started selecting for the heavy colored black.
Hmm.
But that's I'll tell you that a little bit later. So
Okay.
that's the oldest. The second oldest is probably there's a guy like I told you that there's performance standard American Bulldogs in the 80s. There used to be even a registry called the Game Bred American Bulldog Registry and Club, and there were names like Joe Painter, Mike Margentina, Steve LeClaire, uh, Larry Cora, Roadhog Kennels. There's a bunch of these guys, and they were breeding purely on performance and gameness and grit. And so there was a guy called Weaver. His last name was Weaver. And he had some of these standard performance dogs. He was in the military, and he went to buy a dog from Boudreaux, an Eli pit bull from Boudreaux down in Louisiana. And he bought a female called Zydeco Dancer. And she was a black, pure American pit bull terrier off of a dog called Maverick, Champion Maverick. And Eli dogs were known for being sometimes were a little bit bigger sized, or catch weight pits. So anyway, he got that, and him and this other guy called John Lickhart, I don't know who got the idea, if they came up with it together,